Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show.
You're listening to The Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Today we have Nick Kawala. Hi, Nick.
Hi, how are you?
We're good. How are you?
We're doing good. Good.
Great.
Awesome. Let's get this show started. So, first off, tell us a little bit about you and what do you do?
Well, kind of wear many hats. Quite honestly, I right now, for the last 8 years, I've been involved in real estate. Started at a small firm, Skyward Real Estate out of Royal Oak, with a friend of mine who was a broker there, Josh Taylor. Kind of just said, hey, see what you can do in the industry. So I jumped in there for a solid, I would say about 6 years, and then ended up leaving, and I went to Keller Williams for about a year, right down the street in Royal Oak too, and that seemed like a good fit at the time. I mean, there was a ton of training, a lot of people, but ultimately I live on the east side over in Macomb Township, so it was just kind of a long commute to get to things. So most recently I switched over to a company called Switch Realty. They currently are out of Shelby, but they're building a new office in downtown Rochester. I'm one of two agents. It's a developer who owns the brokerage, and he's an attorney, and kind of just lets me do my own thing. So it's been an interesting 2 years because kind of I'm on the ground floor and training other agents, so it's been pretty fun. Not to mention, my actual full-time job is I'm a high school marketing teacher, actually,
Okay.
for the last 16 years. So this kind of started when my wife and I had our first child, and we needed to make a little extra money. And so I ended up getting into real estate, and, just kind of got the ball rolling, and, I've kind of made it to this point in my life, and I really, really enjoy it. So, it's busy. And so obviously I'm off in the summer, so this has been mostly my busiest time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you get into doing marketing or teaching marketing?
I'm a graduate of Central Michigan University, Fire Up Chips. I started off at Central with a marketing logistics degree, and, lo and behold, I had some family members that were teachers and kind of know what I wanted to do as I got closer to graduation. So I ended up, going into education, and really thought it was a good fit, being able to teach the young minds of the world and have fun with them. And so jumped into that. And then, along the way, I always worked in the summer doing odd jobs, whether it was construction or grass cutting or, whatever it may have been. And this seemed like a good fit because at the time, I could be part-time, and, it's kind of referral based. And Skyward Realty was really big into the rental market in Royal Oak and Ferndale and that Woodward corridor. So it seemed like a good fit to get my feet wet and learn the systems of real estate. And it worked out well timeline wise, and I can pick and choose, how much work I truly wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
When you were little and growing up, did you know you wanted to be a teacher?
You know what? Honestly, well, my first passion, I guess, when I was, I was probably around, 9, 10, 11,
Yeah.
is I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, which
Okay.
seems pretty ridiculous for a kid that age, but I don't know if it was like a hospital show on television.
Right.
But then, one time I was young, one of my friends broke their arm, and I remember being there and seeing it. And at that point, I got lightheaded, almost passed out, and I knew right away. I was like, my mom basically told me, like, do you realize this is what you're dealing with on a regular basis? And I'm like, okay, we're gonna try to change gears here. I really, my whole life, I wanted to get into marketing somehow,
Yeah.
some way. And what I realized is, with education is that mainly I'm kind of a salesman to the kids, right? Like I sell the curriculum, I sell myself. And then leading into real estate, I really like, the idea of real estate and how it works and investment properties and things like that. So I think it just happened to be a good fit.
Yeah. And I'm sure the kids probably look up to you a lot now that you're in the position as marketing, as a teacher, and then you also do the real estate. So I'm sure a lot of the kids look up to that. Do you have any advice that you would give to your students perhaps, or maybe a new client or a new agent coming on in this market? I know it's kind of crazy right now, but do you have any advice that you could give anybody?
It's things I guess things that I always go back to with my students, and it sounds really cliche, but it's do what you love, right? And don't give up if it's hard, and be willing to have some, battle through adversity, because obviously, your company is awesome, and you two are awesome at what you do. I mean, that's why I constantly use Windowsill, and you see that you have a passion for it. Obviously, with this podcast, which is really cool. And I just say, I tell my students too a lot. I say, you can make as much money in the world, but realistically, over time, you realize that being happy is really the most thing. And if you do something you love, that to me is great, and it just makes almost like not you're not at work almost. And I would tell new real estate agents, we have two right now that I'm working on joining our brokerage, and I kind of told them, I just said, listen, it's a market right now is awesome. Like, you may think that this is how it's going to be for the next 5-10 years, but in a year this could change, and you may not sell a single house for a year or two. So
Yeah.
you've got to battle with the ups and downs and try to recreate yourself, and battle through all that adversity, and just have a positive outcome on all those things. So I definitely think, like, being positive and loving what you do is super important.
Yeah. And you said you were in real estate for the last 8 years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So over those 8 years, I'm sure that you've seen plenty of homes that maybe haven't been up to par. What is the worst property you've been to, or maybe the worst showing that you've been to?
You know, there's a couple, but the one that really sticks out to me was in the beginning of my career. We were kind of in the tail edge of the 2009 2010 downturn, and there's a lot of foreclosures, and it was right after that, and it was this beautiful colonial from the outside, looked pretty nice. The grass hadn't been cut in a while, so we go in, and the house had been foreclosed, and the owners, more than likely the owners, felt the need to turn on their faucets in the upstairs master bedroom and let them run
Oh, no.
and
And they
leave the
just
house.
left.
And so this was beautiful finished basement, home theater, wood floors throughout, and the wood floors were literally buckled. You couldn't go in the basement without. I went with a mask, but you almost needed a respirator because of so much mold that was down there. I mean, this gorgeous house had just been ruined to the point where it almost had to be gutted and refinished throughout the entire inside. So, I mean, it was just sad because it was in a beautiful neighborhood, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, that probably was one of the worst. And I've been in some really old houses in Detroit that have been bad, but I mean, those houses are 1930, so you kind of can expect something. But I would say that was probably the worst experience, I would say, in regards to that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it doesn't take long either if you left the faucets on for that damage to occur. I'm sure even if it was, not long.
And who knows how long it ran,
Right.
for. I mean, I still in the basement, I remember being on the carpet, and it was like still squishing, and you could see the water lines on the basement walls, and it was up probably about a foot or two in the basement. So it was pretty incredible. I mean, to be honest with you.
Did that one ever end up selling?
It did. I mean, this is a point where, if I can remember numbers, crazy. I believe it was like around a 3,200 square foot colonial, and it was on the market around, I don't know, 250, and I think it sold for under $200,000 because of the amount of work that needed to be done to it.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I'm sure redoing all that, I mean, down to the studs, that's going to cost a little bit. So
yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any goals that you want to achieve in the upcoming year, or maybe the rest of this year going into the following year?
Yeah. Do you want to go on, answer that question?
Oh, no, sure.
Kind of on that same
go
one.
ahead, fire away, and I can probably answer both.
I was going to say it was kind of similar to the same one, but like, is any of your goals like to kind of do this full time or anything?
Well, I have a couple goals. Well, the nice thing, with education in Michigan, me doing this, for what I'm teaching for 16 years.
Yeah, long time.
Realistically, like in 9 years, I can ultimately retire, and I'm kind of a planner, so this is kind of my, leave education, turn over to a new. So I would say, I don't know if I'd leave education early before I could fully retire, unless things, got crazy. But My goals really at this point are to build a real estate team. Of about 4 or 5 agents. I really don't want to get any bigger than that because I like that. I think once you get too many agents, you really have to immerse yourself into the industry full time. Like, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be at a disadvantage, not only to myself, the brokerage, but to really not be able to help all the other agents. The nice thing about having another career is all these other teachers that I know and are friends, they're getting ready to retire and they're looking for something else to do also. So I know a few of them that have been going to get their real estate agents. So crazy enough, I'm looking to recruit teachers, which is kind of nice because ultimately I think some of them are the best salespeople. They're educated. They know how to use technology for the most part, at least the ones I intend to hire and or suggest to my broker to hire, and just build a team that could I guess function in a way that could help me out, because a lot of times I get to things where having someone that could just process my entries and things would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But because I do it all myself now, and so
Yeah.
I'm looking to do that. And numbers wise, I never really set numbers. It was more always like the number of houses I could sell. I
Yeah.
mean, on an average summer, I'd probably do, I guess my real estate timeline would be typically from May till about September. And once I got back to teaching, I might do one or two during that time. But so I would have like a 4 to 5 house, I guess, goal per year. And then all of a sudden with the Keller, I saw the numbers, right? Like, 2 million in sales or 5 million
Mm-hmm.
or whatever you're looking. And last year I set a goal, 2020 of 2 million, which crazy enough, the market went nuts, and I had all these referrals from when I sold first time home buyer homes.
Yep.
All of a sudden I started to get the realization that they were selling their homes to upgrade. They're getting into families, getting married. So all those people started coming back. So I surpassed that goal. And then this year I said, let's not be crazy. I'll maybe do 3 million. If I get there, great. If I don't, whatever. And, I'm pretty, it's crazy enough. I'm pretty close. This year has been
Good for you.
like insane. Like I can't even, I'm super grateful, but literally this summer, which I usually kind of a break and do a little work, has been a full-time 40-hour-a-week job.
Oh, I bet.
7 days a
Yeah.
week. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at this year, and hopefully my 5-year term is to have a team of 5 with a processor, and hopefully do a good job managing all those people. So
That's awesome. Good for you. So let's say you had to start all over today, and you had the same knowledge you had now. How would you spend your first $1,000, or maybe suggest one of your agents spend their first $1,000?
That was one of the ones I was like, I don't know, $1,000. What would I do? Honestly, I think the first thing I would do if I could do all this over again with $1,000, I'd probably get into real estate investing. Probably try to put it into a duplex. And if we're saying this is pre-kids and pre-marriage, 100%. I would buy a duplex, live on one side, kind of house hack, and build an investment arm of my real estate background, and go from there. And I would even tell real estate agents coming in that were younger to look into do that, because it's a good way to build wealth and a steady stream of income, or live for free, especially when you're off first starting. So I think that's what I honestly would do with my first house. So.
That's awesome. What is one of the best business books you've read?
Well, that's a tough one, because ever since I've had kids, there hasn't been much reading in my life. To be honest with you, typically I read magazines like Entrepreneur, Fast Company, and Inc. Like those are some of my favorites. But one I kind of went back and looked through my books, and which I really enjoyed was a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a total business book, but I think it really gave some perspective on how to seize an opportunity when you have it. He talks about the 10,000 hour rule, and that gives example of like the Beatles and like Bill Gates, and how Bill Gates had the only programming computer in the country at the school he went. So he had the opportunity. Now it was his choice to, really work on it and spend that 10,000 hours getting, excellent. Now, again,
that's awesome.
Those people are geniuses,
Yep.
which I am not. But I think basically it comes down to hard work. When you get an opportunity, try to make the most educated decision you can make, and hopefully it leads to a good outcome. To be honest with you, and I like Malcolm Gladwell too. I've read all his books, so sadly enough, I guess I got to get back to reading here, or listen to some books on tape.
Yeah, that's what I do.
That seems like it's easier for me too. I mean, I've got kids too, and you're probably driving a lot, so
yeah.
Awesome.
I know. I'm always looking for some good suggestions. So if there's any that you guys could think of, that would be great too.
Oh yeah. We've had tons of we've had a lot of really good recommendations from agents on our podcast. So yeah, I think we got them. I think we write them in the descriptions now.
Oh, cool.
So
Good.
we got lots of good suggestions under there too. But awesome. Well, how can people get a hold of you?
I'm still kind of old school, I guess. I mean, it's just my email is nkawala, my last name, realestate@gmail.com. We're working on, once our new office is getting built, we're going to rebrand and we'll probably have a personalized email with Switch Realty. And then I also have, what else do I have here? My phone number is 586-709-6218. And that's just my cell. An easy text or call is the best way. I'm hoping to have my social media is more of a personal social media now, but I'm hoping to gain more of a presence in that. One of my agents is really good with social media that's coming on, and I'm hoping that she may be able to help me out with that and use it more for the real estate side of it all.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Are these working?
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
It might be there.
It might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Find
it. It's red.
Yeah. And it's blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah, I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them to also give us a 5-star review if they're listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars,
review.
guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take 4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
I don't think this is working.
This is not working.